I'm very pleased to be here with you today. I'm Anne-Marie Legault, as Pat said, and I'm going to present to you some of the highlights of the results of a study we conducted over the last 2 years in Quebec. It was the first study ever conducted in Quebec on local food studies, and it was a very extensive study, and finally we have primary data. It's the first time that we actually have primary data on local food systems. So it was a good thing that we actually did it. We actually have something now, and it hasn't been officially released. So this is like a primer for you guys. It's going to be launched probably in a couple of weeks, and unfortunately, it's not going to be translated. For now, we don't have the funds to translate it, but hopefully, we'll be able to fund for like a summary. So at least we can disseminate the summary to you guys. Okay, so what the study was aiming at, it was trying to explore what are the obstacles and the motivation for the local food, that LFS is local food system for consumers, the local food consumers. Because in Quebec, we don't usually use the word local. We have the Ministry of Agriculture who calls this the short food supply chain, and we use local as in a sense that it's one intermediary or less. That's how we define local in Quebec. So it's not the same definition. And the first conclusion that we came to was that community-supported agriculture consumers eat more fruit and vegetables. So that's an amazing finding. The result that you see in the table is that you have the virtual markets and the CSA and the ex-CSA. So we interviewed all these people that consume in farmers markets, non-organic CSA, the dropouts, we call it, and the supermarket consumers. And the last line is the total amount of fruits and vegetables that they consume per day. So that's a portion. Okay, so you see that the virtual markets and the CSA users eat more fruits and vegetables every day, more than any other user. The average in Quebec is 5.7 portions, and I think the recommended by dietitians is 5 to 10 portions, right, a day? That's no longer? That's the old guide. The new one does it by age group, so depending on how old you are. Okay, so that's a good finding. So we know that people that actually have access to more fruit and vegetables through baskets, they're just stuck with all these vegetables, so they have to do something with them, and they actually cook them and eat them. So there's lots to say about that. The other major finding that we found is that prices are extremely variable and vary on a weekly basis. We did the study over 3 regions, and one of the regions is Centre-Québec, and one of the cities there is Victoriaville, and I took this example to show you what I mean by price variability, is that you see, for example, the tomatoes. I wasn't able to translate everything, I'm sorry. But this graph, you see the line at the public market of Victoriaville. The green line is the tomato line. You see how it varies in 7 weeks, and all the other vegetables seems to have a pretty simple. They don't vary as much. The same thing in the hypermarkets. We call the hypermarché, Maxi. I don't know if you have that out west. And you see that the prices of the green pepper varies, and it's the blue line, varies a lot, as well as the tomato line again. So it's really hard for consumers to actually know, like if I do go to Maxi one week and get my tomatoes, am I really going to have them cheaper or not? You don't really know. The actual supermarkets, they play with the numbers of the prices, so they actually confuse the consumer, and they don't really allow you to really know where you're getting the cheapest vegetables. It's quite confusing for them. And on top of that, the study on prices also revealed that there's a federal law on provenance. No, that's not the right word. On where it comes from. Okay. And it's not, in our 8-week price study, the data we collected, most of the people did not put where the vegetable came from. So it was very hard for the consumers to even know if the vegetables were actually local or not. They had no idea. So that was another big issue. The strong recommendation is to really ensure that where the food comes from is clearly marked and there's information for the consumer to know where it's coming from. The third big conclusion is that growers or farmers, we call them growers, but we can also call them farmers, they use multiple channels. Again, I wasn't able to translate this graph, but it shows you the farmers that we interviewed. We had 77 farmers that we interviewed, and all of them, most of them, use multiple channels to sell their crops. They don't just use one. So you see this graph really shows you this. Like most of the farmers, so 60% of the farmers use at least 4 channels. So all of them use just multiple channels to be able to sell their merchandise. So they don't just use local channels, they use all sorts of channels. And this, as a complement to the other one, is where the food is actually going to. So the growers, they go to direct sales, that's what they prefer. They go to public markets, wholesalers, independent retail stores, restaurants, CSA, online markets, distribution centers. A whole variety of market channels is used. So the reality just isn't that simple. You think that there's some farmers that just do local, but that's not true. That's not how it works.